Monday Night Football is upon us, and today it's a doubleheader. Giants, Packers, and Titans-Dolphins should be a fun one with some interesting ways to build lineups. And of course, as I always do here on Splash Play, I'm going to do the lineups three different ways. First, we're going to hand build a lineup looking at the advanced analytics from Sports Info Solutions, Pro Football Reference, and a few others I blend together in a beautiful malaise. I don't know, a beautiful milieu. That's the word I'm looking for of what we're trying to build, of course. And we're going to look at the projections and the ownership projections from Stochastic. Then we're going to optimize some lineups to see where the pure math of it all is going to drive people towards on this two-game slate today on DraftKings. And last but not least, we will simulate the lineups to find out who are the must-plays of this Monday Night Football Week 14 doubleheader. Let's find out. Let's go into DraftKings here. Start with the hand build. And I do think right away, and for what it's worth, I did run one optimizer run before the show just to try to wrap my head around it because I'm coming over from the NBA strategy show on Stochastic over to here on Splash Play, trying to get my head where it needs to be to discuss the world of NFL. And obviously the main thing we have to talk about on the slate is going to be the Dolphins are in a great spot. It seems to me like Tua is going to be popping up everywhere today. Obviously, the Dolphins are gigantic favorites in this spot at home against the Titans. They're, first of all, implied for 30.3 implied points, which is one of the highest implied totals of the year. Second part of it is they are 14-point favorites, at least as of this morning, in this game against Tennessee. Tennessee, we know, what do they do poorly? They do not defend downfield balls well at all. 0.61 EPA on throws of 20-plus air yards. 0.2 EPA on throws of under 20 air yards is also one of the worst marks in the league. And they are giving up a 74% completion rate on those plays as well. Tennessee on the air in terms of the EPA metrics, of course, the expected points added metric that tells you how much above average, below average a defense is, as well as the individual players. 0.21 EPA on throws of under 20 air yards with a 74% completion rate. 0.03 EPA per dropback. 0.04 EPA per pass. Point being, what does Miami like to do? They like to attack you through the air. They like to get the ball downfield, get the ball into their playmakers' hands. They should be able to do that fairly easily today against the Titans defense that has given up big games to a lot of pass catchers. But in particular, against really good offenses, they do not have the ability to stop what they want to do. So this spot, I get why Tua is going to be the play of the day. That said, I think that we can try to target the weapons for Tennessee or for Miami here against Tennessee and try to get there as well. Tyreek, the ownership projections, I think are going to be around 80% based on what I saw before the show. Might be coming up a little bit more than that. We'll see when we look at them in a moment here. But Tyreek going to be the core play today. And I do think, much like I thought last time out against the Commanders, felt like Tyreek was in a spot where he's trying to put up these really high octane, high upside games because there is a legitimate case to be made that he should be the MVP of the NFL this year. Obviously, we saw another potential MVP. I guess two of them last night. One of them did not live up to his half of Jalen Hurts. Dak, another potential MVP, but Tyreek in the spot, what he does for this offense, I think that we are putting up these kind of Heisman real games for him right now because that's what he needs to be an MVP. So on Monday Night Football, on national TV, and a rare Monday Night Football doubleheader, I think Tyreek does put it down. And I do not want to be the one who fades him, especially in a single entry here. So I'm going to put Tyreek in. But I think you guys need to be aware of the fact that like everybody's playing Tyreek tonight. I think he makes all the sense in the world. But what do we talk about with showdowns? It's not about playing the best players. It is about playing unique lineups. For a two-game doubleheader on Monday Night Football, it is the same idea there where you're not trying to necessarily play the best plays. You are trying to find ways to get unique combinations that get you there. So that's just something to keep in mind here. For a single entry, I think I'm putting Tyreek in as we're hand building here on the show. For optimizing a bunch of lineups, I don't think you want as much Tyreek because he's going to be played everywhere. And I think my approach for today, I'll be playing about half my lineups with Tyreek and seeing what we can do. But that's obviously me talking at 11:15 in the morning, not when I'm actually putting the entries in at night. So we will see how it goes. Other players we can get to here. Again, given the big favorites on the slate, it does seem like Devon Achane could be guaranteed some work. Got there in the blowout against the Commanders. Got 17 carries, 4 targets in that game. Did get some work in the first quarter and the second quarter. The majority, though, did come in that second half. So it seems like Devon Achane, another key play. I think also a guy is going to pop up everywhere. But I believe if we limit ourselves to 2 Dolphins, I think we will be unique enough that we can actually go with the 2 chalk Dolphins here. So I am going to go with Achane again. And it's something, again, I've mentioned on the stream as well, where for best ball, obviously week 14, the most important week in terms of advancing and all of that. If you have Achane everywhere, I think you'd make the case to not play as much Achane in DFS and hope that the things that are going to benefit you in one format of fantasy football will then not benefit you in the other format. So that's something you could do tonight. But obviously, I'm tied to Achane. I think he's a strong play, so I'm not going to try to galaxy brain myself out of playing Achane, but it does seem like that. Shouts to the chat as well. Give me 100% Tyreek. Surprised he hasn't hit 10K pricing by this point. You could definitely make the case. I was actually talking on the NBA strategy show with Adam Scherer, Ship My Money, another great guy in the DFS space, and talking about Giannis this year in NBA. And I think it's kind of similar where For some reason in NBA, they price guys where it's like you're priced for the ceiling, where Steph Curry every slate is 9K, 10K, because we know that he could put up 50, 60 fantasy points on a given night. Giannis still priced like he was last year, even though he's not the same player. For football, they just don't do that because of the volatility. But Tyreek has been, in some respects, like the least volatile wide receiver in football, because you know every game you're getting like 20 fantasy points, if not 30, if not 40, if not getting close to 50. And I think all of those are in the range of outcomes tonight. So for Tyreek Hill, I agree they should be a little bit higher priced, but it's just how they price NFL, and still more room for him to get there. Still room on the ceiling for sure. I think I'm going to play both Mostert and Achane together. You could definitely make that case. Obviously, the Tennessee run defense, a little bit of a buzzsaw, but because of that, maybe people won't play both together. So I get the logic. I don't think it'll be the play for me. Saquon Barkley going to come up everywhere. I believe the workload's been strong for him. Got 12 rushes last game, 3 targets. That is a low workload against New England, which kind of a surprise given how close that game was. Game before that, though, had 14 carries plus 5 targets, 13 carries plus 3 targets. So really, he's not even getting the crush of volume he's gotten historically. Definitely not getting to the 41 intended touches that he had that one game against the Jets. Saquon, though, I do think will be chalk. And as we already know on the show, I do not love Saquon that much. So I think what we're going to try to do is we're going to play it as though Tennessee can be competitive in the spot. And I think that does start with Derrick Henry. 2 running backs from the same game, not the most appealing thing for the most part, but it's a 2-game slate. We know Derrick Henry has a couple outs on how to get there. You can make the case to play Tyjae Spears here in a pure blowout, but let's just play it like we do for a showdown, where what have we talked about the last few showdown slates? Treating a team that's a gigantic underdog like they're just league average, like they're going to get average results. And if we do that here, I think that's a pretty good way to attack the slate, like going Derrick Henry, even though we don't usually want to play 2 running backs from the same game. So I'm going to play Derrick Henry here. But I also think you'd make the case to play DeAndre Hopkins in the spot and really try to target this game being the shootout. Packers, Giants, certainly a game that could put up points. I think it's very possible as well that we do see Tennessee and Miami. Tennessee just a little bit more competitive on the year. Miami does funnel targets towards the slot, but has been very good defending it. A negative 0.14 EPA per target there is one of the best marks in the league in defending the slot. Outside, though, DeAndre Hopkins is getting most of his work, 51 targets outside compared to 42 from the slot. Only a 27% target rate allowed out wide by the Dolphins D on the year, but it does feel like it's a little more efficient to go there. So I think for Hopkins, I'm willing to play him as well in this build. He's 6,100, not a bad price tag. I think this is going to be what we try to do. Now, what do we do alongside this? So we want to take a QB from the other game. We could definitely make a case to go Jordan Love. You could also make a case to go Will Levis, given the fact that I'm playing Hopkins and Henry. But Levis, just the way that they use him, and it's something too where a lot of people I know who are very smart about data on social media, I don't think have actually watched Will Levis play. People talk about, Will Levis always got this deep ADOT, 9.6 intended air yards per target, taking 5.7 deep throws per game, which is, I think, right now the highest mark in the league for guys that are actually, playing a starter's amount of games. I think people think Will Levis is like this guy that just chucks it downfield, when in reality, he is a guy that chucks it downfield, but in between, it is the least efficient passes. It is really dink and dunk kind of bullshit. A lot of swing passes, a lot of things that are meant to kind of keep just the pressure off them because he cannot handle pocket pressure at all. On the year, he's getting a 43% pressure rate and a negative 0.7 EPA per play. So those are both pretty tough marks. So that's what they're doing with Will Levis. I think you could play him on the slate. There's only 4 QBs on the slate. But for me, I think I am going to try to build a different kind of stack. And I'm going to go Jordan Love's way. So Jordan Love eating up a lot of salary, but I think we can get affordable double stack with him. Christian Watson, of course, my beloved, many of your beloveds as well, going to be out this week, unfortunately, with that hamstring injury. So not going to help out best ball and not going to be in play today. But his workload is definitely going to open up some more targets. So I think in this spot, Christian Watson going to be maybe a proxy for a Wicks or Jaden Reed. Both guys priced reasonably. I'm going to go Jaden Reed's way here. I think there is a good case to go to Dobbs. Let me check the matchups here. So out wide, the Giants are definitely weaker than the slot on the year. Giants give up a 33% target rate out wide for a 0.23 EPA. Defending the slot, a 42% target rate for a negative 0.08 EPA. Man, it might be a Dobbs spot. It actually might be a Dobbs spot. Like Reed gets targets outside, but he is getting 46 out of the slot compared to 17 out wide. Let's go to Dobbs. Let's see if we can force our way to something that will make sense here with Dobbs. And still want to, I think, try to double stack Jordan Love. But let's see what we can do here. Tucker Kraft, a valid play as well. Giants defense, not great against tight ends. 11% target rate, 0.02 EPA. Nothing noteworthy either. But Tucker Kraft playing a good amount of routes. We did see Ben Sims get a touchdown for them last game. I don't think Ben Sims is a guy that you want to go chasing on that front. Even at a $2,500 salary, just got 1 target in that spot. Where Tucker Kraft at least is involved meaningfully. Let's see what his price tag is. 3,000. We can make this work. 6 targets last game. Of course, Musgrave's still on IR, so not any risk of that changing too materially. I'm going to go Tucker Kraft here. Comic God likes Love with Reed and Achane and Hill. I think that's certainly, I think, the chalkier build based on what I'd see, which is perfectly valid as well. I think anytime you're not playing Tua today, you are going to be in lower packs of ownership. If I had to guess, I think Tua, which is crazy for a QB because it doesn't happen that often, I think Tua gets in like 50% of lineups tonight, if not 55. Might be an aggressive estimate there just because people will try to get unique by playing other stacks, but relative to the team totals and the matchup against Tennessee, I think anytime you play a QB that's not Tua tonight, no matter what the stack is around it, you're definitely going to be lower owned. I think running Tyreek / Waddle with no Tua to save money is viable tonight, given how trash the rest of the wide receivers are on the slate. I definitely agree. Again, anytime, like this has happened too on shorter slates. I think it was one where we had a double Monday Night Football game, and it was a Bryce Young stack that got there just because people didn't play Bryce Young, and he was the cheapest QB on the slate. If you were to make that case for anybody, I suppose it would be then you play DeVito as the cheapest QB on the slate. But point being, anytime you're not playing Tua, you're just getting away from packs of the field. So you should be trying to not play Tua in some lineups tonight, which again, we'll see when we look at the optimizer in a moment, how easily that all comes up. Love plus Reed having a big game is what I need to push a few more best ball teams towards advancing. I hope that works out. I need a good game from Love tonight, I know, to make up for some zeros at QB, but we will see. Let's see what we put in at the flex here. Obviously, defenses, we can get down to 2,300 on defense and not really care too much. Obviously, Tua throwing a pick would certainly be one way the Titans D does find a way to get there, and also Tua to not make a lineup. You know what? Packers D obviously going to be the most popular. Let's go Titans D here and see what that allows us to do at 4,900. Yeah. Not a Giants player we can get to try to get leverage there. We could go with a triple with Jaden Reed, which is also kind of interesting. Jordan Love triple. Jordan Love triple. We're playing less Dolphins. We're full fading the Giants, though, which doesn't feel great. I feel like if we're going to full fade the Giants, then we should be playing Packers D. Maybe we play Giants D against Jordan Love? No, because now we're fully out of this category. All right, for the sake of time here, I'm just going to make my pick. I am going to go with the triple of Jaden Reed. I do think it's a better matchup for Dobbs with the reasons we talked about here. A little bit softer out wide than it is defending the slot for the Giants defense. But let's go with this build. We'll go Titans D as well as our reason to not play Tua. My final team here, Jordan Love, Devon Achane, Derrick Henry, Tyreek Hill, DeAndre Hopkins, Romeo Dobbs, Tucker Kraft, Jordan Reed, and Titans. I think a triple stack of Green Bay will be certainly underowned on the slate. You're not the worst thing in the world for Love to triple. I think it's certainly a possible thing that he can hit in that one. I really wish that I had gone Giants D with something, but I think that was just getting too ugly. So that's the build we're going to go with. For the single entry, I'm going to put in the huddle. But now let's look at projections. Of course, projections is going to be a very important part that we can go here. No way you should fade Giants players. I mean, for a single entry, I don't care. And obviously, in some smattering of lineups are going to do it. I would not full fade the Giants across the slate. I do think that Jalen Hyatt's kind of an interesting play. Workload coming up for him. Obviously, you can make the same case for Wandale. Like Wandale, Hyatt, Slayton are all projected decently well. I think fading Saquon, though, is definitely a stand to make just because of the fact that Saquon's going to get in a lot of lineups. He projects well. We'll see in a moment here. But obviously, if he comes up everywhere in the optimizer, I think I'll be proven right about trying to move away from Saquon. Top projected players according to Stochastic. And again, you can also get all of Stochastic's tools and data for 15% off using the promo code SPLASH. I still have to make a graphic for it, but save 15% if you want to get the Stochastic NFL Sims, NBA Sims. You can get both of those for 15% off with that promo code SPLASH. And of course, I swear by Stochastic data. They've always been family to me, of course, having been there since the early days, helping them build up the stuff. But now that I have this deal for you guys, take advantage of it because you've watched me all year long building quality lineups on stream using Stochastic tools and data. And if you want to do the same thing for yourself, I mean, I've given you a roadmap on how I use it, but for yourself as well, get in there 15% off with promo code SPLASH at Stochastic. Top projected players, Tyreek Hill, number one at a 25.6 projection. Wow, what a gap. He is 5.2 projected for more points than the number two player on the slate. So that's pretty crazy. Tua coming up everywhere as well. I'm sure $7,300 salary, a 20.4 projection on him. Saquon Barkley, 17.4 fantasy points, $7,100 salary. I imagine he's going to come up in a lot of lineups as well. Jordan Love, definitely the value QB. So he might come up a little bit more than we want to see as sort of the pivot point to Tua, based on the salary, based on the projection, based on the value metric you're seeing here with that 2.75 value. But definitely Jordan Love in the mix. Jalen Waddle, number 5 overall, 2.1 projection. Top value plays on the slate, according to Stochastics data. Dolphins D going to come up a lot as well. Chico Conquo, 2.8 value projection for him at an 8.7 projection. Also $3,100 salary. So Chig, you got to think, be the pay down tight end a lot of people get on. Tua, a top value despite the high projection. Tyreek Hill, number 4. Jordan Love, number 5. Comment God pointing out Aaron Jones is out. I believe he's still a Q tag on DraftKings, but yes, he is out. There's going to be another A.J. Dillon day. I think the projections still have, let me make sure. Your projections still have Aaron Jones in, so you would think that without Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon probably becomes one of the top value plays on the slate, but he is right now, Stochastic has Aaron Jones in the projection, so he will be in our sims as well. Ownership, let's look at that. Top owned players overall, projected by Stochastic. Tyreek Hill projected for 81% ownership. So once again, if you just don't play Tyreek tonight, you are getting different. As I mentioned, I mean, you could certainly come over the top and play 100% Tyreek. But what are you gaining if you play 100% Tyreek? I think not a lot. So for me, the move would probably be to play 50% Tyreek and hope you do hit an outcome where Tyreek Hill doesn't get there. But it is really a spot where you just don't feel like you don't feel comfortable not playing Tyreek on the slate. But that's why I think you have to play less Tyreek. He's the best play on the slate. He's on the thumbnail. He's been a guy that I've talked positively about week after week. So we started drafting teams in February. I've talked positively about Tyreek for now the entire year of 2023. That said, for a single game slate, when you see that much ownership, I think you have to try to pivot right away. I would say getting one fading one of Tyreek and Saquon is going to be a very obvious thing to do to get unique, but we will see when we run the optimizer in a moment. Saquon Barkley, number 2 projected owned at 65%. Good projection on him. A lot of ways that Saquon doesn't get there, though. So I think for Saquon, if I had to choose, like for the game theory of it, I will play 50% Tyreek tonight. But in terms of like the guys that I would really just like fade if you want to try to get more unique, I think fading one of Tyreek and Saquon is the move. And obviously, I'd feel a lot more comfortable not playing Saquon, even though his floor at running back is very good. Devon Achane here at number 3. Tua at number 4, 46% ownership for both those guys. At number 5, Chico Conquo, the value tight end. So it does seem like for the Miami teams, a lot of bringbacks going to include Chico Conquo, which does, I think, add value to what we tried to do in that single entry build. Playing Henry, playing Hopkins. If people are playing Chig, you just need those two guys to pull away and have a decent day, and that could be a way to do that. Do I have a video on how to use the Sims? I mean, I do it on stream here, but you can check Stochastic for how-tos on how to do it. But you're running it. Basically, it builds 10,000 lineups if you're using the max package, and then it has them compete against each other 40,000 times. But you will see me do it on the stream in a moment. All right. Under low-owned plays here that we can just highlight really quickly. Titans D under 10%, Chris Moore under 10%, Malik Heath under 10%, Braxton Berrios, Cedric Wilson. So playing a Tua stack that includes a wide receiver that is dog shit could be one way to get unique here. You try to target a Berrios return touchdown to Cedric Wilson. A random red zone touchdown certainly can happen. But these are the guys that are low-owned. And Will Levis going to be the low-owned QB, it looks like. So that is definitely he and Tommy DeVito. If you really want to try to cut that ownership product and still put a stack together, Levis and DeVito, it seems like going to be underrepresented compared to a Jordan Love. Let's look at the optimizer, though. Ran this right before the show. So here are your top 25 lineups. And again, what the optimizer tells us is not exactly what the field's going to play, but it does tell you because stochastic data is so proliferated everywhere, but also because of the fact that stochastic data is a median projection, and median projections for the most part look similar. 2 reasons to use stochastic as your read on what the field's going to do. And in this build, again, 100% Tyreek and 92% Saquon. So those are the guys that are basically in every lineup. But once again, if you fade Tyreek, he just comes up everywhere. So it does seem like Tyreek Hill in the spot. Great play, a very obvious great play, though. And if you play a build that assumes Tyreek can't get there, that is one way to get unique on the slate from the jump and really get yourself away from a large packet of ownership. You're also getting Dolphins defense everywhere. 88% Dolphins D is a lot of a defense. Tucker Kraft getting 88% of him projection-wise, so that actually might have been a chalkier play than I thought. I think playing with Jordan Love will still be less owned. We only got Jordan Love in 3 out of 25 lineups here. But the team stacks are the important thing for a slate like this, where, as I've highlighted for Thanksgiving for 2 straight years, people just don't get that it's so much like a showdown, because basically what the projections will push people towards is like, oh, a minimum of this, this many players from this team who's a big favorite. And you can see that happening right here, where you are getting every single lineup here besides one is going to have, actually, no, you're getting every single lineup has at least 3 Dolphins in it. So if you do like I just did and play only 2 Dolphins, you're trying to consolidate the production, but also you're getting off the beaten path because people are going to be forced into playing 5 Dolphins, 4 Dolphins, 3 Dolphins happen naturally. And you are seeing here that they are, at least 3 Dolphins in every lineup as we scroll down. That obviously does include the Dolphins D, so keep that in mind as well. I don't know that you need to separate out Dolphins D for sure, but if you're playing 3 Dolphins and not one of them is not Dolphins D, I think you're going to be in a chalkier construction than it probably seems. This is an interesting question. Does Underdog plan to improve the live sweat experience of a few teams on the bubble to cash? Regular season, it's not easy to see them in my opponents. Am I missing something? I know bbmdb.com has like a better live sweat tool for the top 200 lineups, but that's the only thing I know of out there. And I think you could still find your lineup if it's in the top 10,000. But yeah, that's something to bring up to Underdog. Tweet them about it. Honestly, they might reply. Yeah, so nothing else to note here. Just again, the main thing is really that if you play less than 3 Dolphins, you're getting unique. So if you can consolidate production to an Achane, to a Mostert, to a Hill, to a Waddle, just 2 of those guys, I think that is going to be definitely a key way to build unique lineups tonight. And the other thing would be to not play Saquon. Obviously, Saquon is going to give you a good median projection. He's going to give you a good floor, at least a theoretical good ceiling. I'm perfectly, as you guys know, I'm not a Saquon believer. I think he's a pure volume back for the most part. And even the way that he was being used, interestingly, a couple of weeks ago, like that's kind of gone by the wayside as well. So Saquon, I think, is really the guy that I'd be willing to fade out of him and Tyreek. But, just Tyreek is going to be everywhere. Playing a Tennessee stack should be very unique, right? Yes, I would say so. Definitely if it's Will Levis included in that stack, it will be unique because he's just not going to come up naturally at all. But people will still play him night. Like people will still play Levis, will still play DeVito. If I had to guess, those guys are going to be around that 10% ownership stochastic projected. But definitely like it's, those are the under-owned guys. Whereas like people will be playing 2 a lot. Again, I guess 50%. If I had to guess, then I would say probably Jordan Love gets 25% ish. And then you see the rest of it being half between DeVito and Will Levis at QB. So look at the Sims next. Of course, the Sims is a very important part of the process as well. And for the guy who's asking the question above, 10,000 lineups have been generated here, or about as close to 10,000 as it can get. And what it's going to do is have those 10,000 lineups compete against each other 40,000 times. And of course, if you want to upload your own projections, you do that right here. When I run the things for my actual lineups at night, I have my projections between stochastic and ETR. So obviously you can do whatever you want with that part of it. But for the sake of the stream here, we are just going to run stochastic data and see what it gives us. All right. And guys, if you are new here, if you're watching and you're not subscribed to the channel, please do that down below. Splash Play, we finally passed 3K subs, but now we're on to 4K, 5K, 10,000K, a million K, as I've said here on the stream. And you guys lovingly reminded me of a million K is not a number, and it would not be possible to hit as a channel. Again, Mr. Beast doesn't even have 1,000,000 subscribers on YouTube, but that's the goal here on Splash Play. Doing my best to give you guys good info every day here, Monday to Friday at 11 a.m. And will be the case here for the rest of the season and probably most of the offseason too. Still going 5 days a week. So hang out on Splash Play here, fantasy football all year round. And of course, do my best to give you guys these rational, logical takes here based off of data, based off of what we're seeing from the products that we use. And again, 15% off on Stochastic as well. If you want the Sims in your life, go use the promo code SPLASH on there. Honestly, think the winning lineup will have Hill even if he doesn't go off. So I get it, and I agree. I think so too, but that's not how you play DFS. It's not about just the assumption that a player is going to get there. Like I think you are always going to win more money by going against the held conviction that everybody's playing lineups has that night. And everybody's playing lineups tonight is going to say that Tyreek Hill is going to go off and destroy the Titans. So for a single entry, like I get playing closer to the vest. Again, I put Tyreek Hill in my single entry as well. But if you're playing like the Millie Maker tonight or whatever 500K to first place they have, if you're playing the play action, I think you're going to find yourself get better results or at least a shot to win if you play 50% in Tyreek. But that's obviously my guess. But we'll see what the Sims tell us. Obviously, Sims is going to be a big part of the equation as well. Let's favor the top 150. Top ROI lineup is Tua, Saquon Barkley, Devon Achane, Tyreek Hill, Dontavian Wicks, Nick Westbrook-Akine, Chig, Aaron Jones, and Dolphins. So you are getting a double stack of Titans here, but you are still getting a double stack of Dolphins with it. And you're getting 3 or less Dolphins. So I think the Sim is kind of saying what I did here, where you're getting to a more unique construction by only playing 3 Dolphin skill position guys, and I guess the defense as well. So that's 4 Dolphins in total. But that is the highest ROI lineup. Let's see what the top 150 say about playing Tyreek. So top 150 saying put in less Tyreek. So I think that is surprising. I guess it's not surprising though, because like it's really what I mentioned here, where it's telling you that the field's going to be playing 81%. You're going to benefit by having just some share of lineups that are not going to include Tyreek. So I think that's the approach for tonight. Obviously, if you guys feel so confident about Tyreek being in there, that's fine. Like you can do that. But I would say like really make sure to try to get unique then. Leave some salary on the table. Play the Will Levis or Tommy DeVito stacks along with Tyreek. But definitely don't play like 5 Dolphins, 4 Dolphins with Tyreek and just expect that to be an outcome. Because if you get that outcome, it probably means that the tournament's been chopped 100 ways. It's not unique at all to play Tyreek and a bunch of Dolphins. That's the main thing I would try to keep in mind here. Stack exposures in the top 150. So you're getting QB +1 with Tua and 21% of them, QB +2 and 27% of them, and then QB +3 and 1%. So it does seem like diminishing returns the more you try to overstack the Dolphins in the sim. I think that kind of makes the Dolphins in the sim a little bit more appealing, where I still think if you are playing like 4 Dolphins, 5 Dolphins, you're going to be in a large packet of lineups that have 4 or 5 Dolphins. But if your 4 or 5 Dolphins are the low owned versions of it, where I don't want to play Durham Smythe ever, but you're playing like Durham Smythe, you're playing Cedric Wilson, you're playing, I don't know, I guess Waddle even will be low enough owned. Like if you're stacking up the Dolphins heavily, make sure you're including low owned guys on it's just Tyreek and Waddle with Achane. Because if you do that, like you're just gonna be holding hands with a lot of dudes. Other lineups to look at here. Let's look at some unique stacks that we can maybe get to. 4.6% leverage for fading Tyreek doesn't seem like the juice is worth the squeeze. I think you're kind of missing how the sims work for that, where like the fact that it says that there's any gap at all, like this is the sim, like the sims operate off of things operating off the median projections like it's expected. So when like you see that the sims coming in under, that means that if you expect the worst case outcome, which you should because you want to win when there's a worst case outcome for how the chalk thing is going to be expected to go. That's where like seeing any gap there. The fact that Tyreek's not 100% should tell you like play less Tyreek, I think, for me at least. But because you're never taking straight like the top 150 sim lineups. For NBA, you can do that. For NFL, you should be kind of curating what are the different stacks I want, what are the different low-owned players I want. So like just the pure 150 saying get less Tyreek kind of screams like play less Tyreek to me. Other stacks to go to here. Let's look at these. Stack contains Green Bay, so some Jordan Love stacks, which will be less duped here. Jordan Love, Saquon, Achane, Tyreek, Waddle, Wandale, Chig, Tucker Kraft, Dolphins. So we're getting 4 Dolphins in here again. I just really think you play 3 or less, it's going to put you off the beaten path pretty well. Jordan Love, Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones in this lineup is not going to help it out. Let's see. Aaron Jones made it a lot of these Love stacks. Let's see here. Let's find one without Aaron Jones. This one. Jordan Love, Saquon, Derrick Henry, Tyreek, Waddle, Wandale, Chig, Tucker Kraft, Packers. So we are playing under 2 Dolphins or under 3 Dolphins. That seems like a good sign. We're playing the double for the Dolphins, but not playing the QB. That'll get you unique. You're playing Derrick Henry with Chig. You're playing a giant bring back for Jordan Love. It is only a Jordan Love single, though, so that's a little bit crazy, but I think this build works. 49.8. Probably not getting duped too much on that one, to be my guess. So that's the Jordan Love stack that we can look at there. Other lineups to look at, Tennessee, and we're just showing unique low-owned lineups here. Tennessee stacks will be inherently a little bit less owned. Will Levis, Saquon, Aaron Jones in that one, so we'll skip over that. Here we go. Levis, Saquon, Achane, Tyreek, Waddle, Wandale Robinson, Chig, Jalen Hyatt, Packers. So we're using 3 or less Dolphins, and we're not including the Dolphins D. I think that is a positive. We're going to single stack with Will Levis, Levis with Chig. Feels like it's a little bit thin for Levis. Levis would have to run in a touchdown, which I guess can work. Levis runs in a touchdown that keeps Derrick Henry from making the lineup. I think this lineup is okay here. Again, so like you're playing 3 or less Dolphins. You're not playing the Dolphins D, and you are stacking up Will Levis. I think a Levis Chig single stack is probably the chalkiest version of a Will Levis stack. Let's see if we get a QB +2. QB +2 without Aaron Jones, ideally. All right, this one, QB +2 without Aaron Jones. Will Levis, Saquon, Achane, Tyreek Hill, DeAndre Hopkins, Jalen Hyatt, Chig, AJ Dillon, Dolphins. I would still be curious to see a Levis stack without Chig. I think that Chig is going to get forced into too many lineups just because of that natural projection and price tag. But I think these Levis builds work, and this is probably my favorite one. But one where you have Hopkins, and again, like I built, where you have Hopkins, maybe Henry as well, and you don't have Chig, I think will be a better way to attack the Titans just because Chig is going to pop up everywhere. And last but not least, let's look up the Giants, and we'll give our 3 takeaways to build unique lineups for this Monday Night Football doubleheader. All right, Tommy DeVito, Saquon, Achane, Tyreek, Dobbs, Wandale, Chig, Aaron Jones. So we don't want an Aaron Jones one. It's fine without Aaron Jones. And Aaron Jones is really going to be everywhere tonight if you were playing, huh? All right, good to know. But he's just in every fucking lineup. All right, here we go. Tommy DeVito, Saquon, AJ Dillon, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Hopkins, Chig, Tucker Kraft, Dolphins. That feels like a chalky Tommy DeVito one, and you're not really capturing like how Tommy DeVito makes a lineup where you do want to have like one pass catcher in there, I think. Maybe a Giants double stack with Saquon included. This one has Aaron Jones, but we'll be getting closer. I'm just going to filter out Aaron Jones. This is too much. Add filter lineup. Does not contain Aaron Jones. Really cool that you interact with the comments, even if it's in disagreement. I'll be around the field with Hill and take my stands elsewhere. Look, that's fair, Michael. And that's what I'm here for, man. Like, I'll give you guys a take that I have. Obviously, I'm always willing to hear what you guys think. And sometimes our chat, like, is a very sharp chat that we have here on Splash Play, which I think is a part of the benefit. If you are subscribed here, of course, but like, there's no bad ideas ultimately with fantasy football. And if there is a bad idea, I try to explain why it's not. But obviously, it's fantasy football. So, like, especially for a DFS, whether it be a showdown, whether it be a double header slate, like with this one, which is basically a showdown, just anything you can do to get unique is always the main thing. So, like, anything that puts you closer to like a chalky build, I always would try to advocate against, even if it is a thing that seems like it's the most likely outcome, because we have now seen more than enough times doing these videos every Monday and Thursday, as well as for the full game, the full slate on Fridays as well. Like, it just takes one of those things that everybody expects not happening, and that's how you make all the money. So that's what I try to push people towards. So here's all of our Aaron Jones list lineups. So a double stack without Aaron Jones. And also, yeah, and less Dolphins here. So we have only 2 Dolphins in this one. Tommy DeVito, Saquon, Achane, Tyreek Hill, Hopkins, Hyatt, Tucker Kraft, AJ Dillon, Packers. I like that one a lot. It does feel contrarian, obviously, to put Tommy DeVito with the Packers D against him. But we know he certainly can give a touchdown away here. And you also are completely, for the most part, fading the Titans-Dolphins game, like you're game stacking Green Bay a little bit more. So that is a way to get unique for sure. But definitely, that's the Tommy DeVito experience for you. Doing anything for the Saturday slate this week? That one is spicy. I'm not planning on it, but if there's enough demand for it, I guess I certainly can. But we will see how it goes. All right. Let's do our 3 takeaways here to build unique lineups. So again, what we're trying to do here is find ways to build unique lineups for a showdown. Obviously, it's very pronounced, but for a doubleheader, you should really try to play those like a showdown, where it's not about the best plays. It is about trying to build unique constructs that give you a shot to still win first place. So the number one thing would be, again, this is like more of the overall take, and not a player take one, but I think playing less than the field of Tyreek Hill is going to be your way to get unique. That's very obvious. If you don't want to play less than the field of Tyreek Hill, at least try to limit yourself. 3 Dolphins is a max. I think if you're going to play a lot more Dolphins, people are just going to be playing a lot of Dolphins. That's going to be how people always try to get unique on these smaller slates, where it happened 2 years ago for Thanksgiving. People really overloaded the Bills. This past one, people really overloaded the Cowboys. What happens? Only a couple Cowboys make the winning lineup. That's just how it goes for shorter slates, and people never grasp that. So that's like the one thing I would say is, like, whatever you do with Tyreek, just try to play like 3 or less Dolphins if you can. And if you're playing 4, make sure it's like, I don't know, like a unique combo of those 4. If you're just playing Waddle with Tyreek, with Achane, with Dolphins D, like, you are just in a crush of everybody, especially if you're tacking 2 onto that. So keep that in mind. Number 2 takeaway to get unique, I think, would be, if we're going to go with more of the player take thing, I would try to separate out Tyreek Hill and Saquon if you can. I think those are the 2 guys that are going to pop up in every lineup naturally. It's also going to be just a salary contract then that makes it harder to get unique around that. So just keep that in mind, that people are going to be playing a lot of Tyreek, a lot of Saquon. If you fade one of those guys in a good portion of lineups, it doesn't have to be every lineup, but in some portion, if you're building a 20 max, I would build 5 with only one of Tyreek and Saquon. I'd build 5 with Tyreek and Saquon. I would try to keep those Dolphins rules in mind as well. But that's sort of the approach there, is like, just build packets of these lineups that include the unique angles, and assume, like, what happens if Saquon fails? Does that mean the Giants failed completely? Does that mean that Tommy DeVito went nuts in the passing game? Those are the ways to try to think about that when you're selecting your lineup, especially out of like a group of sim lineups. Number 3 would be to build a unique lineup on this one. I think it's just trying to not play 2 stacks. Like, if you're playing a 2 stack, I think every possible configuration of 2 stacks is going to get played a lot. And I'll still play some 2 at a night, but I think with how much I would expect him to be owned, I can really think he gets to 50%, maybe conservatively, you say 40%. The ownership that Stochastic had for Tua is at 46%. So, like, if they have him at 46, I think that's closer to 50 to 60 would be my guess. So for that one, I would say, like, just playing less 2 is another key part of it. Like, that obviously fits what we talked about, playing 3 or less Dolphins, but like, just the Tua stack part of it, we know Tua doesn't run. We know Tua has to get there by being a pure pass catcher. So if you are playing Tua, like, play it with a Tua QB +3. At least we saw, and it's all coming up a lot naturally in the sim. But for the most part, like Tua is going to get played everywhere. So unless you're confident you have the most unique construction of a Tua stack, I would just try to play less Tua. Any news on Waller tonight? I don't think he's been activated from IR unless I missed that completely, but does seem like it is a Daniel Bellinger night once again. But obviously, check the updates later today. As I always advocate for as well, watch ETR later today, watch stochastic streams, watch Run Pure if you could squeeze that in, even watch Al Zeidenfeld stuff, like a little short form video. But do watch that stuff as part of your process because that's how you get a read on what everybody across the industry is talking about. And I can tell you, like, there's probably not going to be a lot of shows today that say don't play Tyreek Hill. So 80% might be conservative on Tyreek. Like it's possible he gets 85, 90. Just watch out for that one. Like really, like the Tyreek. I love Tyreek. Great player. Need him to crush in best ball today, but he's just going to get played like so much that it almost makes it impossible to play him comfortably at the same amount of volume. There we go, guys. That is a show today. Again, if you are new around here, please subscribe down below. If you enjoyed the stochastic data as well, use that promo code SPLASH at Stochastic to save yourself 15%, whether you want the NFL product, whether you want the data, their lineup generator tools, their sim tools, or if you want NBA tools as well. You could save that same 15% with promo code SPLASH at Stochastic, so check that out. And eventually I'll have a graphic here, of course. And of course, subscribe down below, hit the like button, leave a comment if you're watching after the fact. I appreciate the support on here. So we're building this channel up, so please do all of that. And shouts to the Squirt Squad, of course. You can join this list of fine folks help me put on the show every day by hitting the join button down below for $4.99 a month. Get my data in your life, get a custom emoji, get the VIP stuff that you get here, get access to me if you want to ask lineup questions. That's what we do here. But of course, you're also helping me put on the show every day. So thank you for subscribing and joining down below. And of course, follow me at Chris Spags. Follow the show at Splash Play Pod. Check out Probably. Going to be hopping over to the at Probably app channel after this to do my best bets video for the day. So that'll be a fun one. Another profitable week over at Probably. And of course, you get save 50% as well at Probably with that promo code SPLASH. But I'll be back with you guys tomorrow talking about the best ball fallout. For the love of God, Sunday did not go well for my teams. I need the Dolphins and the Packers to come through tonight. So please, fingers crossed for our best ball teams. We'll come back tomorrow and do that again. Appreciate all you guys hanging out, and I will see you guys then. Enjoy your days, and of course, good luck. Bye.